Despite all the propaganda, if you look at the numbers, for the first time in our history, the Bank of Ghana has become policy insolvent. Now, let me take you to the numbers for you to have a look. They say in their report that in 2025, the Bank of Ghana recorded a strong policy solvency position, improving markedly over the 2024 outturn. This, fellow Ghanaians, is not true. Now watch. Policy solvency is when you add all the incomes so that you get income from operations, 22 billion, and then you deduct the cost of open market operations, 16 billion. That is the math that they have done and are explaining that they are 5.5 billion Ghana cedis in the surplus, and that it is markedly higher than the 793 million that the previous managers of the central bank left for them. Now we're going to show you why it is not true. The highlighted line, the line we've highlighted, shows the net gain from the sale of refined gold at 9.5 billion Ghana cedis. To arrive at that 22 billion, they had to sell about 50% of our gold assets to generate 9.5 billion cedis. So that is not sustainable. So this year, which asset will they sell to cover it? The Bank of Ghana cannot continue selling assets to cover their policy insolvency. A central bank that needs to sell gold assets to cover up its policy insolvency is operating on borrowed time. The government and the bank, knowing the implications of this, have thus resorted to this clever attempt to spin it away and bury it in an NDC press conference, hoping that nobody will pay attention to the actual details. And as we'll demonstrate later, policy insolvency is as a result, this policy insolvency is as a result of new policies that they have introduced at the bank. The implication of this is that the bank now requires an urgent bailout before it can perform its core mandate. And later this week, we will outline immediate measures that we believe the government should take to restore true policy solvency. Today, we just want to expose this sad fact, which the government is trying to hide from the Ghanaian people, that on the watch of the NDC, for the first time in our history, the Bank of Ghana has become policy insolvent. The second point we want to draw your attention to. The government and its spin doctors, led by the NDC party officials who did that press conference, are trying to convince the people of Ghana that the loss is 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. And colleagues, we don't blame you. We've seen many of you reporting that the loss is 15.6 billion cedis. We regret to tell the people of Ghana that this is not true. 2025. Before, the Bank of Ghana did not split its accounts into two. They put all the accounts in one, in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards. On the watch of this new administration, they have amended the accounting standards they are using. And now they split it into two and move some into what they call the other comprehensive income. So what you have seen as the 15.6 is only the operating loss that they have declared in the operating accounts. But when you go to the consolidated and separate statements of the comprehensive income for the year ended 31st December 2025, we want to show you something else that they are hoping nobody will look at. Look at the first line. That is the loss for the year, the 15.6 for the bank itself, and 15.3 for the entire group, because you know they have subsidiaries. But as you go down a little bit, you will find that there are other transactions they have done that will culminate, we'll show you another line, go down a bit, that will culminate in a loss of, this is an additional loss of 19.3 billion cedis for the bank and 19.8 for the group. So if you want to see the true loss that the bank has suffered, it's not just the headline 15.6 that they have told you. It's the 15.6 at the top, and then the 19.8 at the bottom. For the bank alone, that is 34.9 billion Ghana cedis. That's the true operating loss. And for the group, it is 35 billion cedis. So colleagues, the second point we want to make to you is that, contrary to what they are telling you, that the loss is 15.6 billion, please look into the account. You will find that the 19 billion has been moved into other comprehensive income. And if you put the two together, it's 34 billion. And that's why we're also drawing your attention to the fact that even this 34 billion, they achieved it by artificially generating revenue of about 9 billion from 50% of our gold which they sold. So if you add that back, Sadly, the true loss of the central bank for the year 2025 is 44 billion Ghana cedis. Now, they have been going at lengths to try to hide this. In fact, even before the results were released, they briefed some of you in the media to start writing stories that there was going to be a loss, but it will be lower. I want to refer you, for example, to some of the stories published on Ghana Web days before the publication. It says Ghana Web Business understands that the accounts will first be presented to the audit subcommittee. According to sources, the delay was partly due to a change in external auditors. The central bank is expected to post another operating loss for the period ending 2025, although it is likely to be smaller than the 9.4 of the previous year. And they got many of you to repeat it in other news publications because they wanted to tune the minds of people that the loss has come down. It's not true. It's 34 if you look at it on a consolidated basis. And if you take away the artificial revenue they jump into it, that's 44. Issue number 3. What is happening at the central bank is that there was recovery that was coming after the initial losses of 2022. And because of the new policy measures that they have introduced, that recovery is being reversed. You'll recall that after the 2022 loss, which loss was occasioned because the central bank had to participate in the domestic debt exchange program and lost about 48 billion cedis at that time, leading to a total loss of about 60 billion. After that, the central bank had been reducing their losses. So in the year 2023, and if you can go to the graph, I'd just like to demonstrate it to our colleagues. In the year 2023, they reduced the loss from the 60 billion. So you will find on the bar graphs we have here, we've plotted from 2020 coming. So 2020, they were in positive, profit of about 1.7 billion. And so the net equity position went up to about 3.5 billion. In 2021, they made an extra profit of about 1.2 billion. So the net equity went up further, 5.7 billion. But in 2022, when they participated in the domestic debt exchange program, they made a loss of 60 billion. And that is what brought the net equity position, the whole at the Bank of Ghana, to the 54 billion that you see there. But they started reducing the loss. So in 2023, the loss reduced to 13.2, and the whole expanded to 65.3. And then in 2024, the loss further reduced to 9.5, and the whole started closing. So from 65, you see the whole closing is now at 61. What has happened is that now in 2025, because of the measures that they have employed, which have cost us a whopping 35 billion Ghana cedis, which they are trying to hide by telling you is 15 billion, now the net equity position, the whole has gotten bigger to 96 billion cedis, as you see there. Indeed, if it was 15 billion, when they were adjusting this, they should have adjusted by only 50 million. But they had to go and adjust by 35 billion because that is the true comprehensive operating loss. So the third point that we are making to you, sadly, is that the reversal that was coming up at the Bank of Ghana is now, or the recovery that was coming up, is now being reversed, and the position has gotten significantly worse because of the policy decisions there. Now, again, in the propaganda exercise they did on Thursday, they tried to tell the people of Ghana that these accounts have been prepared in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards. Again, colleagues, we regret to inform you that that is not true. On page 10 of the audited statements, in a paragraph titled Emphasis of the Matter, the Basis of the Accounting, this is what the auditors of the Bank of Ghana have written. They say KPMG are drawing attention to note 2A, and they write, and here I'm quoting them directly, the consolidated and separate financial statements are prepared in accordance with the group's own accounting policies. As a result, the consolidated and separate financial statements may not be suitable for any other purpose. Our opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. I want to translate this into plain language. The accounts are not prepared on full international financial reporting standards. They are prepared on the bank's own internal framework. That's why KPMG could not say that they are prepared in accordance with IFRS, because the accounts were not prepared in accordance with IFRS. They reverted to citing the bank's own internal accounting policy as the standard against which compliance was tested. On page 4 of the same document, the directors themselves, the directors of the Bank of Ghana say, and I quote, the recognition and measurement criteria as set out in IFRS accounting standards as adopted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana have not been applied in these circumstances. They are hoping you won't read, but it's there. And it is because of the adoption of this particular standard that they are able to move the 19 billion from the operating account into what they call other comprehensive income and let you think that the loss is 15 billion when the loss is actually about 35 billion. It's 34.9, approximately 35 billion. I want to be clear. I'm not making allegations. I'm reading what the auditor and directors have themselves written into the document. KPMG has flagged it. The directors have admitted it. The basis of accounting is part of the architecture that makes the headline loss look smaller than the underlying economic reality. I want to deal with issue number 5. The government wants you to believe that the losses were for good purpose. And they themselves have explained that there are 2 major causes of the losses. One, the attempt to fight inflation, what they call the open market operations instruments that they used for sterilization. And then 2, there are losses on the gold purchase program of about 9 billion cedis. So let me take you through. They want you to believe that the cost of sterilization, the first part, the 16.7 billion, was an unavoidable cost to pay for disinflation. Colleagues, it was not. Much of it was self-inflicted by 2 policy reversals undertaken by the new management of the central bank. And each one of those reversals was more expensive than the alternative that they replaced it with. They were aimed at ensuring that, so let me explain to you these 2 policies that they inherited. One was the dynamic cash reserve ratio. The other was the CD equivalent reserving requirement. So, you know, banks have to keep a certain percentage of their money at the central bank. And they keep that as a reserve requirement, and the central bank doesn't pay any interest on it. At the peak of the crisis, the managers of the central bank decided that it was important to introduce a policy known as the dynamic cash reserve ratio, which looked at how much of the deposits you have mobilized as a central bank are you lending to the private sector. And if you are not lending the money and you are coming to lend it back to government, they give you a higher reserve ratio so that you bring it to government and they don't have to pay for it. If you don't want that, lend it to the private sector. That was the dynamic cash reserve ratio. It was the first thing that this new administration reversed because they were looking for popularity from the financial community. That's where they started playing politics with the policy decisions. They said it was part of a reset agenda. And so they reversed it. What that meant was that money which was ordinarily coming to the central bank, mopping up which was being done at 0 cost, now they had to pay for it. Second was the CD equivalent reserving requirement. Banks mobilize both CDs and foreign currency. So the rule that was introduced was that when you mobilize foreign currency, the central bank will not take the foreign currency as part of the reserve. They will take the CD equivalent. So what that did was that it took away more CDs from you as a bank without having to pay for it. Why? Because they didn't want you to keep the CD and come and lend it back to the central government under open market operations and pay for it. Again, for reasons of popularity and politics, the central bank, new managers just reversed it. Now, I must state from the onset that these were temporary policies. They were supposed to run their full course before they were removed. But I've explained to you how they removed them. When they removed them, the consequence is that now the banks are left with so much liquidity and they have to mop it up. And they are mopping it up at an interest rate. It is this mop up at that interest rate, known as the sterilization that we have been talking about over and over and over again, that they have ended up paying 16.7 billion Ghana cedis for. So it is not the cost of stabilization. It's the cost of policy reversal. It's the cost of poor policy choices, the cost of politicization that has cost them this 16 billion Ghana cedis for money, a good chunk of which they could have received without paying interest on. The other one is the gold purchase program. The original structure of the gold purchase program ensured that bullion was accumulated without making losses. The new administration reversed this policy and now said that all gold should be purchased through the gold board. I'm sure you recall that. It was here in this room that we raised this matter. And then the gold board also found its own intermediaries. Eventually, The Bank of Ghana ended up losing 9 billion Ghana cedis on those gold transactions. And the gold board ended up making profit of 900 million Ghana cedis on it. But if you want to see the true value, put the two together. Plus 900 minus 9 billion. You will see what the real value is. This is what is sitting in the Bank of Ghana's books as 9 billion Ghana cedis loss, and is sitting in the gold board books as unprecedented profit. So it is not the cost of stabilization, the cost of fighting inflation, or the cost of defending the currency. It is the cost of poor policy choices, poor decisions at the central bank that has led to these losses that they were trying to hide. I want to conclude with 2 points. I want to talk briefly about what else this money could have been used for. I won't speak about Agenda 111 projects that have literally been abandoned, which will not cost 44 billion Ghana cedis to complete for people to get healthcare. I won't speak about that. I won't speak about enterprise funds that could have been created to make money available to young people who want to, start their businesses or to do business. I want to talk about the opportunity cost, the direct opportunity cost. This is the most uncomfortable part. In 2025, for those of you who have been reporting from the business desk, the Bank of Ghana paid 14.6 billion in cash interest to commercial banks who were holding Bank of Ghana bills. What that means is that the banks that participated in the sterilization, the banks that brought the money back to the Bank of Ghana, the Bank of Ghana paid them interest of 14 billion. If you look at note 10 of their accounts, they have admitted it. The statement of cash flows confirms it again on page 18. Interest paid on borrowings was 14.3 billion. Now, where did that 14 billion come from? It went into, it came from the Bank of Ghana, but where did it go? It went into the income statements of the commercial banks. The published 2025 result of the commercial banks in this country show record profits. If you put the profits together, guess the figure, 15 billion Ghana cedis. This is the equivalent of what the Bank of Ghana paid out to mobilize that money from the commercial banks. This is not good monetary policy. It's wealth transfer from the taxpayer, the public balance sheet, onto the private balance sheet of the commercial banks. Let me put it in terms that all of us young Ghanaians can appreciate. While the Bank of Ghana was paying commercial banks 14 billion in interest, what was happening to private sector lending? The money that the banks were supposed to lend to people to do business and, for the economy to flourish and for people to get jobs. The Bank of Ghana was sterilizing it and paying interest. That's what has become the profit of the banks. Lending to small and medium enterprises was not growing as much. In fact, from 10.7% in 2023, credit to the private sector grew by 28.8% in 2024, but sharply now declined by 13.9% in 2025. Why? Heavy sterilization. Apprentices were not able to access finance. Young entrepreneurs were finding credit harder to get. The commercial banks did not need to lend as much to make money in 2025. They could simply hold the money, give it to the Bank of Ghana under the sterilization program, and get interest for it. We don't have anything against commercial banks making profits. No, we support a healthy commercial banking sector. But we want banks to make profit by supporting businesses and the real economy, not by collecting risk-free interest from a stretched central bank balance sheet while private sector credit contracts. You recall that the Honorable Finance Minister told us in March 2025 that the 53 billion required to recapitalize the central bank when they assumed office means that that's 53 billion that cannot go into roads, schools, hospitals. He was right. But guess what? The same logic applies today. The 14.6 billion which they paid out to the commercial banks, every cedi paid to the commercial banks through the open market operations or sterilization, a cedi that cannot fund a classroom, an apprenticeship, a youth skills program, or a public-private partnership. This is the youth and jobs cost of the choices made by City House in 2025. And the last point we want to make to you, colleagues, is that, at the majority and NDC communicators press conference, which they held, because I've told you that it wasn't just the majority caucus. They brought other people, you see it in the videos, who are not even members of parliament, to come and do that press conference, to take over the job of the Bank of Ghana, and now come and announce the Bank of Ghana account just to do propaganda. At that press conference, Their principal defense was this, that the 44 billion underlying loss, which I've told you they've tried to cover to 35 and then split it into 15 and 19 and just show you the 19. That loss, they said that it brings stability. It is the cost of stability. But the macroeconomic dashboard is one half of the story. The other half is what is on the streets, the lived experience of the people that we've always been talking about. Today, liquidity is tight. Everybody knows it because the Bank of Ghana has nearly tripled its sterilization operations, drawing money out of the productive economy. Private sector credit has not expanded as rapidly as the low lending rates will predict because the commercial banks find the Bank of Ghana paper more attractive than lending to the general public. Manufacturers are reporting weaker order books in 2025 than in 2024. Power supply, as I'm sure you are all aware, remains a concern in many parts of the country, with implications for industrial output. And just this morning, I saw that the energy minister says he's going to publish the timetable for the replacement of transformers. That's the Doomsday timetable. Don't waste your time about the settings that they are coming up with. Ordinary households report that the cost of living remains high relative to wages. As for cocoa farmers, you know what is going on. Some government workers, particularly teachers and nurses, are in precarious conditions because they are not being paid after several months of work. Teacher trainees are no longer receiving 3 square meals a day. And youth unemployment is now gone up from 30% to 34%, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. So stability of numbers, respectfully, is not the same as stability of livelihoods. A stable city without a thriving private sector is incomplete stability. As we've always said, it is the lived experiences of the people that matters the most. If young people cannot find jobs, if our manufacturers cannot expand, if small businesses cannot access affordable credit, then the macroeconomic stabilization has not yet translated into real economic prosperity. I want to close right from where we began. Though we raised concerns about many of these things during the year 2025, and even called for inquiries into them so that we could understand and take corrective measures, and you were here reporting in Parliament, the majority side refused it. Though we raised concerns about many of these things which have led to this 44 billion true operating loss, this is not a press conference of vindication or one to gloat, as I mentioned earlier. There's no triumph in being right when your country is bleeding. But there's something that we on this side of the house owe the people of Ghana, and which we will not shirk away from. We owe you consistency. We owe you a careful reading of the documents that bind our institutions. We owe you a defense of the law, Section 58, as I've just taken you through. The NDC also owes you the same. In 2023, they claimed that the Bank of Ghana was a crime scene when a loss of 13 billion was occasioned. They said that the Bank of Ghana was bankrupt when the fact was that they were only near policy insolvency. Today, after they called for the resignation of Governor Addison in 21 days, today, the situation has worsened with a 44 billion loss and actual policy insolvency. Where is their principle? Yesterday's whistleblowers, they've now become today's defenders. The NDC should stand by the principles that they espoused when they were fighting for power. What the NDC is now doing is giving new promises that, and if you have followed their commentary, they say this will not happen again next year. But the actions that they've already started taking this year alone, from January to now, the sterilization they've done this year alone, is more than what they did last year, which led to the 44 billion loss. So how can they tell you that the thing will not happen again? Their actions show clearly that their words cannot be taken seriously. What is required are reforms. Reforms that would actually ensure that the Bank of Ghana doesn't collapse. And as a responsible opposition, we have recommendations on these reforms. The reforms that need to be undertaken to ensure that this situation does not get worse. Later in the week, my other colleagues, Dr. Amin Anta, Dr. Gideon Boakom, and others will address you, and they will outline the reforms that we are proposing. And because we don't even trust that this government will listen and employ these reforms, we're going to communicate those reforms to the IMF in their last review that they are embarking on. That they must ensure that these reforms take place. else the central bank, sadly, may not only be policy insolvent, but may get to actual insolvency someday. Colleagues, we thank you for your attention. Today, we just wanted to expose these facts to you. Later in the week, we will add our recommendations to it. So I'll do a quick summary in 3, and then we will wrap up. And you know, maybe your friend will say, I same tia. Ya waden yumre, and a Bank of Ghana accounts are 2025. If you are Bank of Ghana, ya waden yumre, and a odebeto abonting. Now, son or de bebano, Bank of Ghana, the accounts, no, the command NDC political party. So, no press conference, no more announce the accounts. Sadia we been see that. Fiti Ghana independence, we been see that. San say mrada kwanya Bank of Ghana account ye found publish it. Account near ready. I demand finance minister within 3 months. Now finance minister ye krata to so the aba parliament. Where the man yen sir, ye we no come NDC party. It is a more NDC communicators, any MPs ni bi ni be have a press conference be announce say Bank of Ghana account. Ade been see that. No na ye bo ye wura governor. Any board no, any aban kokose. Politics na say the wura Bank of Ghana no. Ebe to me ama bank na nkasa egu ti yesra omanyado omunyi politics ni fi Bank of Ghana adwuma no no mo professionals na ewo ho no enye adwuma no mo aboka mo fa account ni beto abonten na mo nka ni nyina ye hwem na enye say the Bank of Ghana ye omadwuma wi anom de nkrata na kwa akoma politicians so mo no be press conference and be announce na ye kwa account ni mu a ensem nso pe na ye pese mama sote the entire press conference ni say no mo hwɛ nim say obi akran kan omo ye wi a na no ano ne de ko the the account no the copies aba e be ma mo copies of the account ya projected you screen so and some nso ne pese mo odi kan sika Bank of Ghana edidi omo nkasa omo dwa emra hye say omo ni eno ye omo policy responsibilities no say sika no to say ahema ka be 4 billion ababede say wo account ni mu a almost since omunya sika 22 billion ena ejuma mrasha so omunye no omudi 16 billion ye one kind here wunhunu say sa 22 billion no omu ka no omuko yiyi Ghana ya assets ni bi titru ye gold no omu ton ye edi enya 9 billion kan wan sa no omunya 22 eti said the ayama ejuma se hwe so na ejuma no waton ne ma boka nti ejuma wura aba enkonwa ne ejapade kakra wo adwumanim na no so waton aka ho e na wo de account sales ho say hwe sales am ye pamjo sa na ye no eno no maye wa say wu yi sa asset na omoton ye ni free mu a sika omunya ye 12 billion wote 16 ni free ma omaboka be 4 billion ti asemo ye di kan apone ho akere mo say mo hwe account ni yi ene say for the first time Ghana history ni na o my policy insolvent ejuma nkasa mrade ahye om sase omunye om sika anso ema omo aboka na wo se enimani ye nema bibra be ma yetumi sebe asan ahye omudwa fofo eno no na wotwe da enimi ye besan ahye amobiom ene de ye pese akire mo nema om de tete e wa account ni na wotwe ya da enimi ye be hye amobiom ne akire mo kwan a yesusu se wo se om san fa so ehye Bank of Ghana edwa fofo etoso mienu Bank of Ghana for account na aba no dom kese ne aban pese uji tum say e can 15 billion eno anu me sere monye no pre obi ase o say can 15 billion ase ni hu e can no 34.9 billion ami fa mo kwa account ni mo account no ma chemu mienu esro de na friend operating account no e ho na 15 billion no wo de o man kan kire mo so ne say account no fa ne say part B e wo account no mo e friend other comprehensive income no e also ma boka 19 billion who come in bo ma 34.9 billion sa 34.9 na krampo na also mo koton ye gold no half and sa na e be do 34 we gold ni fi mo a e 44 billion ya e kanan ka say ya de ya spam post ne say o mo pese o mo tumfo trogu Ghana fo ani nti asudi e da ye so a etoso mienu say e be mama so ate say e kan enye 15 billion actually e 44 billion na wokọ balance sheet a baby omo sese omajapade na adwuma no ni wura bisa om se nti mokọ ye mfa so ana ka he na mo de ba fie how the omagia to say 35 billion can of the other fee. But on mobile account, I'm say 15 billion because on the 19 billion I then I could take. The entity to be the tay and say, almost accounting standards now Bank of Ghana. Now your accounting standards can you now boom. And then I say almost son. No by a press conference, no more Detroit Ghana for some of the IFRS. We are seeing accounting standards on the air. No more GDS will be an kind account. My son's watch them say, okay, account no more. Patriotic Party. Omo yeah auditing no KPMG for natural we say any IFRS no dey no dey omo accounting standards NAA and no na am kwan mo metum yi 19 billion no akoshe baby fufu nti wan hwe ni year unhu be koso aka say 15 sir accounting standards no directors of the bank no so agya to say any IFRS na omo use omo akasa accounting standards na omo use etoso nan na bank no efiase esi kwantin pon paso 2022 ahokyere buy a bank no boka 48 billion and nti omo ka bedu 60 billion na omo de boa ma yetete Ghana ka no so no na bank no efiase yetete omo ka so so woko graph na ye de kire mo na wo hwase ho na graph na first na bank no profit and then wo bonkum ho no green na omo nya mfaso 2022 asemo e buy and nti na bank no e boka 60 billion and tokro of bay 54 billion beda ho every ho no o matete o mo ka no so the next year na 13 billion o mo san ate so bi 9 billion nti nka fie we die nka bank na be profit na meboa esan hihye boni o man wo ho nti hwe ka twitwiri die bi mada 96.3 billion as say tokro na ba bon person o ka kire o say 15 billion ka pe no mabo pacho 61 who the 15 ka ho a enkodu 96 da because 35 no and now they can we do 96 enti na de ya no so ye pese Ghana fo nyina hu ni se na na bank na start isi ni dadam hihye pa ban dada na de buy a na bank na start isi ni dadam hihye foforo aban we de aban enti se bank no asan te akọ na chi a e ka na ba bi e da no e bi mada 96.3 billion net negative net equity position na omeka kire o se okun pa na omokun against inflation any dollar enti na amasa aka na ba mpacho onye no krebio eno so yesan akire mu ene ma miensa bi wo ho a ombeto ye a ni na omasesa no eno na akwa akofa ana na akwa akomo ma boss aka edi kan na ye won hihye bi a bank oje usika e de koto bank na wan fa mbo obi besin e be ma economy na kọ nanim na so person de Bank of Ghana beji says kan ontua ho nsi nti a non remunerated mobilization and as a mop up that was central bank etosumienu na se bank oje foreign currency and as a dollar on nyimfi banks no and as a Bank of Ghana nyimfi banks no obeji no ni CD equivalent eno so ontua ho nsi na a temporary measure ye de aba yanka se ebetena ho da but however in nti ne de aba se ebeboa ma economy na gina ne na so wa bra Bank of Ghana ntua ka bia na economy ni gina ne na so afi yakoyeda dem aban we buy politics ni propaganda om si reset inti hwem nom tu ni na go ye se obi ambeji ni sika bank bi ambeji ni sika om we nom si se sika dos wo krom nti om ba be to se sika no to no om to ye no eno no ma boka 16.7 billion cedis under open market operations gold to ye ni mo an share odem ha ye kai mo se ebu first ni ye to gold a ye moka se o ma se san hye ne se gold board na ento gold nti Bank of Ghana discanoma gold board na gold board akwa akoto no de aba gold board so no akoto de Bank of Ghana no anya so mfa so be 900 million ade anchi Bank of Ghana for so buy om say gold sika om de ma gold board so akoto gold ne mra no almost o ma boka 9 billion Ghana cedis pacho kaminu ni boom you see when you mfa so ni de so wa boka na kaminu ni boom so mbeka e share odem as e ka kire mo say car abasa time na 214 million what's $5 more na e be 2.5 billion dollars no mo mayen cedis 2.5 billion cedis ata mayen konwa na ehwehwem na ehu de be ya stop no om se emfa ya sem pankodo Ghana for to bet ya enti yen kotena fie e kanu na fi Bank of Ghana se do 9 billion on mo books so we be catch us na cost of stability na cost of defending the currency but you we nyina betumi aya wo mo sa aka we say e twato mfaso a commercial banks ni nya o Ghana afi aba be sin kwe o sisin be 15 billion Sika Bank of Ghana to commercial banks no from Sikom GG wom ho no ebe 14 billion. Ase chere ne say sika e wo se nka Bank of Ghana hwema commercial banks no e de bo ankrankra besia na wo menua a wotifi a wo support NDC kra no wakonye adwuma ye wo ho no. Nhihye o man ne say omo first scan mbre Bank of Ghana no mo nye 14 billion. Tiskeniku ye sterilization ye kan e ya nse nkofo nti ase no say emse ne sunsun so no bia ate ase first scan no ebetumi aboa e man nkofo nyuma akonanim contractors ayenti o moka yetumi atua ayi electricity hu niema wo se ye na ye expansion na yetumi produce more electricity na dumso na ja nke ebetumi aye koku akuafo ayenti o nke ebetumi aboa me ahwe agenda 111 na yentumi nto aso nke ebetumi aye nso nhihye aban ne ye ne say or the better settings na yabom nsemo ama wo na ye bewie no e ka aba beda e ho ni ye de ya no disime ba wie ye no ye se na watwe we ye besen hia mo bio menua Dr. Amin Anta Dr. Gideon Boakom ne ade ye besen hia mo bio na adwenkyere a ye wo on say efiase kan o mse o munti but ye amanyoko papa ye nye propaganda omo no mba no say governor this is that time the pam no 21 days o ma bokro no wo Bank of Ghana eno na ka no kra ye be 9 billion and then the 44 ye nye sa de ni bi emom adwen a ye be kire na yesusu so o fa so animanim ya sa tokro we ababeda Bank of Ghana 96 billion so ababeda Bank of Ghana e betumi correct no ye be kire sa adwen no nti awie ye frame wo ha se ya de edi kan de atomanim ni na watwi mu ye be hia na ye de recommendations any reforms no so atomanim ye da munyi na ase
please you can stay and wait. I mean, if you are part of our friendship, you can stay and wait. So I'll share the soft copy with you. And please ensure that you report the 44 billion hidden loss. Stevie,